Notre Dame, Florida State. Two things to say about this game. Let's talk about the good stuff.
It was awesome.
It was a fun game.
Yeah.
Took 19 hours to play, but it was a fun game. And obviously Notre Dame looking fresh out of the box with Jack Cohn. I mean, again, Wisconsin fans, you got to sit there and go, well, it's got to be our system, right? It's got to be their hands are always on 10-2, white knuckle gripping the steering wheel. So this kid comes to Notre Dame, wings it around. Notre Dame up 18, and the game got close. Wound up in overtime. Why? This is why we watch sports. The story of Mackenzie Milton. This is the reason why we watch and love sports. Not the beginning of the story, which is this kid, Mackenzie Milton, going down in a heap on, I wrote the date down, November 23rd, 2018. He suffers a severed artery, nerve damage, dislocated knee, and a torn ligament or two in his knee. And the doctors who were operating on him said, don't expect to play football again. Well, guess what he did on Labor Day weekend? He played football. And boy, did he play football. He didn't start the game for Florida State. But in the fourth quarter, when Jordan Travis, the starter for Florida State, has his helmet cut off. Isn't this amazing how these things happen?
Crazy.
How sometimes, you could go on and on and on. Tom Brady's obvious entrance into the NFL is the first one that leaps to mind. Justin Herbert last year, when he didn't expect to start, Baker Mayfield got into a game when his head coach was just saying, yeah, I don't think he's ready yet. And because the starter gets hurt, in comes, boom, fill in the blank. And Mackenzie Milton comes in and slings a 22-yard pass. How about that one, by the way? When he comes in the game and he just wings one, throws a dart, it's just like, okay, they're going to actually not to just hand it off and get him back on the field. So the starting quarterback can put his helmet back in.
No.
Because this kid hasn't played a game in over 1,000 days. They start slinging it around. And, kudos to Mike Norvell, the head coach there, and the rest of the staff. They let him stay on the drive. And he capped off a 12-play, 88-yard drive to make it a 3-point game. Then he comes out after getting the ball back. And I got to tell you, that 2-minute drill looked like he was running it.
Yeah.
Like he hadn't missed a day, let alone 1,000 days. That was a remarkable 2-minute drill to lead to a game-tying field goal in overtime. Unbelievable. This is why we watch sports. Doing it against Notre Dame while they were showing his family in the stands, his dad, whose birthday it was, and his mother against Notre Dame. Her name is Teresa. You can't make it up.
Can't make it up.
Kids performing with his mother, Teresa, in the stands, watching him perform miracles
against
Notre Dame.
Right.
What? And I should, for fair and balance, say Happy New Year to my fellow Jews today.
Happy New Year.
The Shana Tov. Place that aside. Now comes overtime. What an abomination. What an abomination. First things first. Did you know they changed the overtime rules in college football? Did you know that? Where after the second overtime, you're forced to go for 2? And then, honestly, I didn't know this. I learned this. They are removing all football from the game. All football from the game, except for one play from the 2-yard line. It's all 2-point conversions from the third overtime and on.
Wait, really?
We were spared that.
That's a thing now?
We were spared that this weekend. That's a thing now. First overtime, go for it. Second overtime, go for it from the 30 or from the 25.
Right.
And if you score, you got to go for 2. And if it's a tie after that, now we're just doing 2-point conversions. Fact.
When did that happen?
Just you wait. Could you imagine if that game that I just explained with Mackenzie Milton had come down to 2-point conversions?
Did not know that was.
It's like, let's take a terrible overtime and make it worse.
Wow.
Terrible overtime, because you remove special teams with the exception of place kicking. Punting's out. Defense has already got its back to the wall. It's like it's the equivalent of putting a ghost runner on second.
Hate that.
And now it's worse. But we were spared all this because of what happened to Florida State, where they didn't score any points in their first possession of overtime. And Notre Dame basically just took the air out of the football on 3 plays and kicked a field goal and got out of Dodge with the win. We were spared that overtime rule.
Thank God.
Which is, but it's coming. Just like targeting. It's coming for your team.
Probably.
It's coming for your team where you play a 4-hour game and you spill all the guts out on the field, and we're basically going to put the defense on its heels to start overtime, remove punting from the game. You could laugh all you want, but that's a crucial part of this game. It's just not the same. You're not going to play another overtime. It's ridiculous. You're going to start playing overtime football. I hate it in college, the way they do it. And it's going to be worse when it's just 2-point conversions. Oh, your fullback dive's better than mine. You win. But what we saw on that turf in Tallahassee was the resurrection of the tuck rule, and I will not stand for it.
That's a good one, too.
I will not stand for it. The tuck rule is dead and buried. I personally was heaping dirt on it for years on NFL Network, on NFL Total Access, telling Mike Pereira was the head of NFL refs at the time. We're not doing this. The tuck rule is stupid. The tuck rule is dumb. Why? Says Mike Pereira. It removes the gray area. I'm like, actually, it provides gray area. Ball up here by somebody's head with intent to throw. Ball's now being brought back in. That is the signal of no longer intending to throw. That's it. The move down. The tuck rule was saying, well, we don't know if the arm's going through. So the minute it comes down, it's an incomplete pass. No, it's not. The minute it comes down means I don't intend to throw. That's the gray area removed. The intent to throw being removed by the clear removal of ball from throwing position into a position where you're tucking it. That does not make it an incomplete pass. That makes it a fumble. And the NFL finally woke up and said that's correct. Dead and buried. Mackenzie Milton in overtime. He's going to throw it. He tucks it. It's a fumble. Thankfully, Florida State recovers it. They're out to kick a 50-yarder. Head coach Mike Norvell says, hold on a second, let's take a look at it. They take a look at it, and it's ruled an incomplete pass.
Insane.
The tuck rule's dead, ACC. Notes to you. It's dead. It's over. What are you doing? His arm was coming down. Yeah, he doesn't intend to throw it. Incomplete pass. Who's the intended target? His left hand? And if it's an incomplete pass, who other than his left hand was the intended target? He was in the pocket. So if it's an incomplete pass, and it wasn't batted down by anything other than his left hand, it should be intentional grounding. If you're going to extrapolate this out to the ultimate stupidity, the ACC brought the tuck rule back to life with the whole country watching.
Thought it was gone.
And then almost messed up the respot of the football. And with all due respect to you Florida State fans, because I know it was a very emotional game, not just for Mackenzie Milton, because you were honoring Bobby Bowden that night. But on behalf of all of us who despise the tuck rule, it's only fitting you missed the field goal. After you stopped play to see if you could get the tuck rule called, and you stopped play as your kicker had just made the 50-yarder.
You iced your own kicker.
Well, you remove the points off the board. You don't know he's going to make it.
Sure.
And odds are, get him closer. Makes sense. But when you try to resurrect the tuck rule, notes to coaches, nothing good's going to happen.
Wide left again.
I couldn't believe that. I'm like, wait a minute. A ball is by a quarterback's head, intending to throw. It's obvious. He's throwing. Ball comes through. Out comes the ball. As he's bringing it down, not throwing, bringing it down. And it hits his left hand. The intended target. I will not stand for it. I will not stand for it. So, congratulations to Notre Dame. Brian Kelly's stand-up comedy career came to a quick end.
This guy.
A very fast end in the post-game conversation afterwards. And I knew when he said it, I'm like, I know exactly what he's saying. I know exactly what he was joking about. He comes on this show, he has fun. He's got a sense of humor. I just knew that was going to fall very flat. And it did.
And it did.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.